How the fuck do we live in a world where women's coaches say they're not scientifically educated enough to know whether or not someone has a dick? Sophie Cunningham said what she said. And it's so sad we're even in a place in society where I have to applaud her, because I do applaud her. Yes, go. Be unapologetic. She said she wants to protect young girls in locker rooms and in sports so they don't have to compete against biological men. She said she extends love, she doesn't hate anybody, but the truth matters and biological women have rights that need protecting. That's it. That's the whole scandal. That's it. Not, I hate trans people, not lock them up. Just, hey, girls and girls sports should be for girls. Girls locker rooms should be for the girls. And this caused chaos. Chaos. Oh my God, you would think she was committing a hate crime. Absolute leftist meltdowns over the most basic truth. The first biological truth we ever learned as humans on Earth. It shouldn't even qualify as an opinion. And then when asked about it, here's her response. And she said what she said.
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children. And that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like, taking any form going forward?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
And this caused an absolute meltdown. She's suddenly like MAGA Barbie. She's the right's anti-transgender culture war ambassador. The Guardian literally wrote that with a straight face. It is common sense. She's 100% correct. Okay, how are the players doing? How are the players doing with all this? Oh, they're crazy, woke, and brainwashed too. This other player, Stephanie Dolson, steps out wearing a trans rights or human rights before the Seattle Storm versus Indiana Fever game. And then the Minnesota coach, Cheryl Reeve, put on a trans kids belong shirt. And the best part is ESPN praised her and encouraged fans to listen to her incredibly thoughtful comments.
We see Cheryl Reeve wearing a shirt today in support of trans kids. Trans kids belong on the shirt. This in the aftermath of Sophie Cunningham's recent comments. We actually saw Cheryl and Sophie speaking at center court pregame. And yesterday, Cheryl Reeve spent a lot of time talking at length with the media about this topic.
I would encourage anyone to go and listen to Cheryl Reeve's comments. Incredibly thoughtful, easy to find online, and just encourage anyone to go and listen.
I'm just wondering what's thoughtful about not being able to tell the difference between a man and a woman. That's actually, there's no thought behind that because you've been brainwashed by the dumbest people. You've lost the ability to think critically. There's nothing thoughtful about that. You're not actually thinking through how this affects women that play sports. I have a friend, Paula Scanlon, who was on a swim team with Leah Thomas, or Will Thomas. It's actually what his name is. And she was forced to change in front of a biological male, shower in front of a biological male, compete with a biological male. That's abuse. That's abuse. A man in a woman's locker room is abuse. It's traumatizing. It's so frustrating to me that this is like, it's the very first basic biological truth that we ever figured out on this earth was the difference between a man and a woman. And they've stripped that from people. So much so that it's caused all this chaos. And for what? Why? Okay, you want to stand up for trans? She's not saying she hates trans people. Like, how dare these people make this about hatred and exclusion when it has nothing to do with hatred and exclusion? It has to do with safety for women and protecting women's spaces. It's literally as common sense as it gets. And then, of course, when this coach did a press conference, she said, I come from a place of inclusion, and the narrative that I think is problematic to suggest that transgender athletes are the biggest problem in women's sports. Well, yeah, it's not women's sports if you have men competing in them. It's literally not. It's not possible to be a women's sport if you have a man competing in it. Continue the quote. I think this is what's bothersome, is that there's a fraction of people of our country that are making this a massive issue. This shouldn't be an issue. There's no issue. There is no issue because men are men and women are women. But here's what the issue is, because she continues on to say, we need to protect trans. What about women? That's the problem. That is the problem. You're not protecting women by prioritizing a biological man over a woman. She continues on, I don't think we should feel like our safe spaces are being threatened. How are they not being threatened? What are you talking about? What the fuck? How have you lost it so much? Of course they're being threatened. You have a dick in there. You have a man who can outperform a woman. You have women uncomfortable around men in a locker room. What? How is that not threatening for women? And then how is it not threatening for the integrity of women's sports? Because biological men are different to biological women and they outperform us. They're physically stronger than us. It's biology. There's nothing like controversial in that statement. That is medically true. She continues, this coach, that's what I enjoy about the WNBA. And I think we have to continue to safeguard that. Safeguard what? So, then you're not the WNBA and you might as well just go be the NBA. Seriously, why don't you go play with them? I don't get it. If you guys want men and women's sports so badly, merge. You know the best part? The irony doesn't end because this coach is complaining about men taking women's jobs, taking the coaching jobs from the female coaches.
We had more women coaching college basketball before Title IX, after Title IX, when it became more important and more investment. That was code for.
And you got paid
it's a man's
more.
job. Got paid more. Became a man's job. And so to this day, we still don't have more women coaching in college basketball than we do men. So that same thing, apply that same thing when 2 years ago, we lost 7 WNBA coaches, right? They got fired because all of a sudden this money, became more, the WNBA blew up, valuations of franchises, right? In comes the NBA folks again, who had cast us aside for many years. In they come again, right? Now they want their franchises back and that sort of thing. It's more important again. And then we have more men.
How dare she? How dare she complain about men taking female coaching positions while wanting to force her players to play against men? I'd like to see this lady play against a man. I'd like to see her be forced to change in front of a man in a locker room. Actually, no, I wouldn't. Of course I wouldn't, because I'm not a shit person. But this is what they're calling for. Shower in front of a man while feeling uncomfortable, while denying basic biological truths. So this isn't Sophie's coach, but her coach is even more insane. Well, they're all insane.
What's your stance? What is your stance on men or athletes who test as biological male participating in women's sports? What's your personal stance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say that I'm educated enough from a scientific standpoint. I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer. I just don't. I do think, when we think about various levels of sport, various governing bodies of sport and things that go into that, like I said, I'm not educated enough at the different levels. I know growing up, I played with the boys all the time.
So
there weren't girl sports.
Would you welcome a biological male in WNBA?
How the fuck Do we live in a world where women's coaches say they're not scientifically educated enough to know whether or not someone has a dick? That's really it. That's all. That's all you need to know. You have lost the ability to think critically if you fall for this lie. That's all it is. It's a lie. It's pandering to mentally ill people that are suffering. There's nothing kind about this. There is nothing kind about this. Never in the history of ever has there ever been a successful transition. No man has successfully become a woman and no woman has successfully become a man. That is a medical fact. You don't need to be scientifically trained to know this. Transitions have a 100% failure rate, and saying anything else is a lie. A lie. But that's where we're at in society. Lying to mentally ill people to confirm their delusions while everyone else has to suffer. No, we don't pander to the 1% of the population. That's not who we build policy around. No. Why are we even having this conversation? And then the other coaches are crazy too, because we have this Golden State head coach, Natalie Nakas. I don't know her name. She's just crazy. That's all I know.
I know you don't have the fever again in the regular season, but coming out of the break, one of the big news stories has been Sophie Cunningham and the protests for her and protests against her.
I'm frustrated that we're having this conversation.
Televised game today, and Cheryl, wore a shirt, and it's just a conversation. I'm wondering, just what do you think about it? Do you think that's good for the league? Does it detract from the basketball? Is it just noise? I'm just wondering what your opinion is.
I think, thank you for that question. I think just in terms of how I'm seeing it is, if I could answer with, for me, sports is about belonging. It's about inclusivity. It's about allowing everyone to be their authentic self. I'm big on that just because I have been criticized for my height, for my ethnicity. I've been in those "you shouldn't belong here" many times. And for me, I don't want that space, especially Golden State, to ever feel like that. So I'm all about women, little girls deserving to play, and that includes trans women. So I'm all about inclusivity.
Okay, so these coaches have completely lost the plot. How's everyone else? I'm sure they're reasonable, considering this is a 90-10 issue. A 90-10 issue. Well, in Seattle, 2 teenage girls, 16-year-olds, showed up courtside wearing XXXY shirts and holding up a sign that said, "Thank you, Sophie, for speaking up for girls." That's it. That's the whole message. Support for Sophie for wanting female sports protected. That's it. The co-owner of the Seattle Storms then walks over, confronts these teenagers, calls them fucking insane, tells them she hopes Jesus can forgive them for their sin, and points at her own head like they're crazy. Leaves one of the girls in tears. A grown woman. The co-owner of a professional sports franchise, screaming at teenage girls for saying men are men and women are women. Please protect women's spaces. The league did eventually suspend and fine Keaton. And the Storm issued their "we apologize" statement. But what? How has such a basic thing caused such chaos? It's a 90-10 issue. This is why when the 10% are the loudest, they peer pressure everyone else. This is why it's so important that the silent majority stop staying silent anymore. Otherwise, we have insane people running our culture and our country. And they dictate what the societal norms are. And we cannot have these crazy people dictating societal norms. We cannot. People have to speak out against really, really basic stuff. Really basic stuff. There are hills to die on, and this happens to be one of them. Because it's true. It's true. We need to have basic truths in a society, or we have nothing. We have nothing. So Sophie responds on X like a normal person: safe space and love for everyone. You can disagree and still be kind. Bravo to those girls. Iconic way to end it, though. Truly embarrassing of the co-owner. Unfortunately, it shows the type of leader she is. And good for her. It really is so embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. How could you be a grown woman and have that kind of reaction? I mean, it just shows how brainwashed you are. It shows that you really can't think for yourself. It just, again, it shows where we are in society. Okay, so the owners have lost it. The players have lost it. The coaches have lost it. What about the fans? They must be sane, right? Right? Okay, nope. No, even though, again, 90-10 issue, they're booing Sophie every single time she gets the ball. They are heckling fans for wearing XXXY shirts. They're holding a sign saying, "I didn't think I could dislike anyone more than Clark. Congrats, Cunningham." And next to that is "Kids support trans athletes." I have so much respect for Sophie. I'm not watching women's basketball, not the target demographic. Not going to pretend like I am. But from what I've seen, she's been one of the few people that have been willing to call out the entire league, the coaches, the refs, the players for very, very unfairly targeting Caitlin Clark, which I started paying attention to that when Dave Portnoy went on his little rants about it. And it seems really racist. I don't know. I do know. Seems pretty racist. Seems like Caitlin Clark has completely been targeted, and it's very unfair, and it's very anti like feminism, what these people claim to be all about. It is. It goes against everything that they like fight for. Women. Okay, well, if you can't even define what a woman is, and then you hate certain women for performing well and doing well and being white, then you don't actually support all women. This is what DEI is, though. Like this is why it's just a slippery slope, and it's dangerous, and it makes people lose their minds. It makes people go crazy. Like these people, like this grown woman attacking these children, like yelling at these children. So Sophie went on her podcast recently and said that her opponents are singling Clark out and that the league and the refs do nothing. And if her teammates saw some of these plays in real time, they'd have Caitlin Clark's back. And then Sophie also got technical fouls for pointing, iconic, at Dawana Bonner in a moment that, of course, became politicized. Why? Because of race. And they hate that she's not bending the knee. She's not giving in to the woke mob. She's not apologizing. She's not going, "Oh, you're right, I need to fix this." So they have to pathologize her, call her anti-trans when she specifically doesn't say she hates anyone. She doesn't even get political. They accuse her of anti-Black politics because she pointed at a Black opponent during a heated moment and defended her white teammate. Like, who cares? Who cares? She didn't point at her because she was Black. What? This is so crazy. This is the most basic stuff. I cannot believe that this is a conversation that we're having. Even Trump has been commenting on it, and oh my God, he's so funny. You have to hear him. You have to hear his recent.
And I'll tell you what, if I were ever, I'd be the greatest women's basketball coach in history. Because I don't like LeBron James. I like Michael Jordan much better. But I'd go up to LeBron James. It doesn't matter. I'd say, "LeBron, did you ever have any desire to be a woman? Because what I'd love you to do is star on my team that I'm building up. I will have the greatest team in history. They'll never lose. Nobody will come within 70 points of this team. Now we have to change that, and we have to make it okay to talk about it. Do you know the young lady I was talking about is afraid to talk about it? She's shunned and she's canceled when she talks about it. This is crazy. Right, Kellyanne? I see.
He's so funny. I'm sorry. He's so funny. Someone should just do it. Just do it. Do it because they can. Put the best man on a women's team and see how everyone does. See how you can argue your point by saying it's unfair. Well, if this one has a dick and he can play, and then this one has a dick and he can play and come into our locker rooms, it's the same exact argument. Why would you discriminate against this one and not this one? Why are we even arguing about this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. This is what happens when you let the crazy people dictate the cultural norms. We need to be louder. Bring back sanity. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.